Hello and welcome to another episode of the DVD Graveyard. Tonight I wanted to take a look at the 2023 found footage horror film Frogman, written and directed by Anthony Cousins. Now this movie is probably the newest movie that I've covered on the channel so far, if I'm not mistaken. I usually pick a lot of kind of older films, and I don't do a whole lot of found footage films. Now, I do like found footage movies, depending on what it is, because they're very hit and miss. They're either pretty good or they're pretty fucking bad. So, but this is one that kind of, to me, is more on the good side. This is probably one of, in my opinion, one of the better found footage films of the past 10 years or so. I mean, I know that's probably kind of a bold claim, but it's definitely one that kind of caught my attention. Now, when I first heard about this movie, it was probably end of 2023, maybe into 2024. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I just remember, like, I was scrolling through something, probably Reddit or something like that, and somebody had just mentioned Frogman, and I was like, talking about kind of how good it was and how it was a really good new found footage movie, and just kind of what I was reading about it, I kind of expected it to be sort of like almost like a Bigfoot type movie, I guess you could say, which we'll get more into what it's about. I'm not going to spoil it because it is still fairly new. Most of the movies I talk about, like I said, are 30, 40, 50 years old at this point, so those I'm not as worried about spoiling as something like this that is still, like I said, fairly new. But anyway, I just happened to, kind of start reading about it, and it kind of caught my interest. And I couldn't really find, like a mass release Blu-ray of it. I saw like pre-orders and the special edition and the collector's edition and all that good stuff that you could order from this one particular website. I don't remember what it was from, but it was like $40, and it came with the Blu-ray and like a poster and a whole bunch of other really cool stuff. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I wanted to see this movie so bad, like I said, because it had caught my interest, just kind of some of the things I'd read about it. I almost bought it. I almost ordered that $40 special edition, but I was like, no, I again, with it being like a found footage movie that I didn't know anything about, besides, just hearsay and what I was reading, because I don't usually take a lot of reviews to heart. I'll read them to kind of get an idea of what I'm gonna kind of expect for the most part, but I didn't want to just pull the trigger on this, and then kind of be disappointed and be like, "Damn, I should have just waited." And then fast forward to, I think, probably last year. It finally, I just happened to see it on eBay. I was scrolling through eBay and I found this collector's edition Blu-ray that I have for like $12, and I was like, "Oh hell yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pick that up." I don't mind spending $12. I mean, if it's disappointing, then I'm not gonna I'm not out as much money. And my God, whenever I sat down to actually put this movie on, I was very, very pleased with it. It's a good time. It's not really what I was expecting it to be. I mean, it was and it wasn't. If that makes any sense. It's got that very kind of I hate to even make this comparison just because I feel like that's what everybody compares it to, but it's got that kind of Blair Witch vibe to it and that kind of Bigfoot movie vibe to it, but it's so different, and I love that there's a lot of practical effects in this movie. The creature design looks fantastic. I like the lore that's going on. They shot it on like an actual VHS camera, so it's got this really kind of nice sort of 90s camera look to it. This videotape, shot on video look, I guess you could say, that I really like. So it's just got a lot of stuff going on, and like I said, I'm going to touch on each of those things. I just don't want to really spoil it. So, like I said, this movie was directed by Anthony Cousins, is the guy's name. There's actually, well, never mind, I'll get back to that in just a little bit. Our main cast is Nathan, I'm going to butcher this name, so I'm sorry, Nathan Timashuk, I think is how you say that, who plays Dallas. He's kind of our main character that we're following. Chelsea Grant, who plays Amy, and then Benny Barrett, who plays Scotty. Those are kind of our main three people that we're following in this movie. And before I kind of get into the plot a little bit, I'm going to read this, the back of this collector's edition Blu-ray I have right here. You can probably still get this pretty cheap if you get the chance. It's got a lot of really good special features on it. So if you can pick this up, like I said, I found this one in particular on eBay about a year. No, it's probably been 2 years ago at this point. Anyway, let me go ahead and read this. Like I said, definitely pick this up if you get the chance. So after catching the legendary myth on camera at a young age, Dallas is called a fraud when he gets older. Sorry, I read that really weird. Dallas is called a fraud when he gets older. Yeah. Being down on his luck and having no direction in life, he asks his two friends to go back to Loveland, Ohio, to see if he can prove that the Frogman is real. However, after they arrive, they soon find that Frogman is more than just a local legend. So, like I said, I'm going to get into the plot some, but I'm not going to spoil it because, with this being a newer movie, if you haven't seen it and you are a found footage horror fan, especially stuff like the Blair Witch Project or Willow Creek is another one that this reminded me of. If you're a fan of stuff like that, definitely go out and watch this because I think you're going to be a big fan of this movie. Everyone that I've shown this movie to, or not even really shown, but told about this movie, I guess I could say, have loved it. Like my sister liked it. One of my friends really liked it. He borrowed the Blu-ray right after I got it. Another friend of mine, he really liked it. So again, if you're into that style of film, definitely check this out, and it's streaming for free on Tubi, or like I said, if you can, pick up this Blu-ray, because like I said, again, it's pretty cheap. Anyway, this movie starts out just with some sort of, like a family kind of on a road trip, and it's just this kind of basic, just camera shots of this kid, who is Dallas, who is filming kind of this family trip that they're on, and he catches a glimpse of the Frogman, which is this really great looking practical effect, even in the beginning of this movie, but we see it more again later, but it just looks so cool, and it is just a Frogman. It says it all right there in the title. And so ever since then, they've turned this footage in, and it's become like this hoax thing. Like, we see it, even in real life, which is kind of makes this movie a little bit relatable with the Bigfoot footage and alien footage and all this and all this stuff. So he basically sets out to prove that this legend is real. So he wants to go back to Loveland, Ohio with his friends, and he takes them there, and with this camera that he shot this original footage on, for, I guess, nostalgic reasons or whatever have you. And so he goes to film the Frogman, or to find the Frogman. So a lot of this movie at the very beginning, it kind of starts out sort of slow, but I mean, you're enjoying it because, like, I liked all the characters in this movie. They felt like a real group of friends. Like, they all had really good chemistry, and they probably actually really are friends in real life. Which I forgot to mention too. This is a very low budget film. I don't really know exactly what the budget is off the top of my head, but it was a very, but that kind of played into it. It just, again, these guys are probably all friends, and they probably actually are very familiar with Loveland, Ohio, and it was just the way that everything, and a lot of the stuff that was in Loveland, Ohio is probably really there. I mean, not the actual Frogman, but all the stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it has a really kind of realistic feel to the whole film. Sorry if I'm talking weird, but anyway, they go down to Loveland, Ohio, and they're just looking around and they're interviewing people. Again, very similar to like the Blair Witch Project, and they end up stumbling upon, like, of course, this guy who's like hoaxing the whole thing out in the woods to like bring in tourism, and they see like the Frogman, like, it's like a cutout that they can take pictures in, and they've got the Frogman's Point, which is this place where you can hike out to supposedly see the Frogman. So it's really cool. Kind of, reminds me of something you'd see if you went to like Fouke, Arkansas. After watching Legend of Boggy Creek. They really, I want to get. There's going to be memorabilia there for the Fouke monster. Like it had that kind of vibe to it. So when they finally they decide to go camping and go to this place that is kind of restricted, and everybody's been telling them to leave town, leave, don't come back, don't investigate this, don't go any further, all that kind of typical stuff. They finally camp out at this, like I said, this Frogman's Point, and they sort of get kind of exactly what they were asking for. Now, at this point in the movie, whenever they do go out there, I'm not going to really talk much more about the plot because, again, I don't want to spoil anything. Again, if you have not seen this, go out and definitely check this movie out. But it just, whenever they get out to the woods, and he plays the little flute thing, which you'll know what I'm talking about when you see the movie. When he plays that, and all the frogs start to kind of chirp in the background, and you hear them all around as soon as he plays this. That scene in this movie, for some reason, made my spine tingle in a way that I can't really explain. Like, it was kind of comical, but also really creepy in a way. Like, this whole movie, like I said, from this point onward, is very creepy. Like, it's been very lighthearted and fun and kind of goofy, and you're like, oh, the Frogman, da 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 da. But like, it gets dead serious, kind of from this point onward. And we uncover a lot of really interesting stuff about the town and kind of what's going on and all this stuff that they're kind of keeping under wraps. We get a good look at the Frogman puppet, which it looks fantastic. It's such a cool practical effect. And the Frogman is a really interesting character in and of itself. So, I'll touch on that just a little bit, because again, like I said, going into this movie, I thought, Frogman was just kind of a unique name for like a Bigfoot type character. I didn't really look into the lore of the Frogman very much, but there's a lot more to it than that. So, the Frogman has kind of like psychic abilities, and it's just there's a lot of really neat lore behind the Frogman, and just the design of it is so simple, but it's so creepy at the same time. And I applaud them for using these excellent practical effects, and they do this thing with the camera, of course, where like the Frogman's psychic abilities kind of interfere with the tape on the camera and make it a little fuzzy. And normally I kind of like pick on movies whenever they do that. It's just an excuse to kind of hide your effects, but like, it works in the lore of this movie. So that's why I don't know, it doesn't really bother me as much in this. It's more believable. You get enough of what you need to see in this movie, and without it kind of being over the top and leaving just enough to the imagination as well. And so I also want to talk about some of the gore effects in this movie. So this movie's not like super violent or super gory or anything like that, but what we do get is fantastic. There is a scene, something that happens to one of the characters in this movie because of something, and just what happens to him is so like goofy, but yet terrifying at the same time. Like, it's just like, oh my god. And I'm sure a lot of people have kind of seen that picture of that character on the promotional material. It's actually on the back of this Blu-ray, which is really cool. And again, I'm not going to spoil exactly what happens, because I strongly suggest going into this movie blind. So, but yeah, I don't really have too much more to say on it. Like I said, just the effects are fantastic. The actors, like I said, towards the end, we actually, to me personally, I was actually concerned with what was going on with the actors in this movie. Because again, they all felt like relatable characters, and you did kind of sympathize with them in certain ways. And I'll say this too. Again, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but I do want to say that I thought the ending of this movie was really good, in like a meta kind of way, just the way that it wraps itself up. But it really worked for the film, and I think it was great. I think the ending of this movie was fantastic. And overall, this movie is great. Like I said, it's probably one of the best found footage movies I've seen over the past several years. In my personal opinion, it's one that I go back to ever since I've seen it for the first time. It's one I go back to over and over and over again. It's got some really good kind of goofy quotes. I'm sure everyone's heard the Frogman fucks quote, over and over, which is just fucking hilarious, in that context of this movie, kind of what's going on. This movie also, I'm sure I'll probably use this poster for the movie, but this movie has such a cool poster, like on the front of this Blu-ray, with the kind of trees that come up to make the frog-looking face, and then of course you see the Frogman kind of silhouette in the reeds. That is such a cool poster. I should have actually put that on my because I just did that video a few days ago about my favorite posters of all time. I should have mentioned this one, because it was one that completely slipped my mind, but it would definitely fall into one of my favorite posters. I want a big sheet poster of this, or like a painting of it, because it's so cool. I just love that, and that's kind of what drew me to this movie, like how I was talking about in that video. A movie that whenever you look at the poster, it just makes you want to watch the movie. That is exactly what this poster did for me. Now, I've seen several different poster arts for this. Like, I've seen the kind of glowing thing with the tongue wrapping around it, and whatever is going on with that one. That one's really cool too. But this one definitely takes the cake for me. That's the one that I like. That's on my Blu-ray, on this collector's edition that I have. It's just super cool. Everything about this movie I really, really enjoyed. So, what more can I say? That I highly recommend this. If you are a fan of found footage horror movies, you're gonna love this. This is a great film. Very entertaining, really good plot, very good kind of back lore that's going on. Definitely check this out. Now, I did kind of why I'm doing this review of Frogman now, because I was going to wait a little bit. I had something else kind of planned, but me and my wife just watched this movie a couple days ago, and I don't remember what got us on the subject, but there will be a Frogman sequel. So I think Frogman Returns. It's either already out and it's showing at like a festival or something like that, or it's on some website. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't really seen anything else about it. I haven't dug too deeply into it. My wife really likes this movie, so she was really kind of looking into it. She was going to try to find some way for us to watch it, because after we finished this, we just wanted more Frogman. Like we wanted to watch it again, or watch something else kind of in this lore or based on this kind of legend. So I do definitely look forward to Frogman Returns. I hope that it's as good as this movie. I hope it lives up to this movie. Sequels can go either way. This is honestly a movie that didn't have to have a sequel or doesn't really need a sequel, but I will absolutely take more, if it's given to me. So like I said, if you'd like to see this movie, Frogman, if you're a physical media person, definitely check out like eBay, possibly Amazon. Check out, any of those, anything like that. If you want to get this Blu-ray, 'cause like I said, I got it for really cheap, this collector's edition, and it actually has some really good special features on it. Surprisingly, quite a few for just kind of what I was expecting to get. And like I said, I got mine for like $12 on eBay. So I mean, it was one that is very easy to grab if you just want to stream it and check it out. Because whenever I bought this, it wasn't streaming yet, so I didn't really have a chance to. But if you get the chance, check out Tubi. It's on Tubi, completely free to watch. If you want to just check it out on there, that's perfectly fine as well. But again, I urge you, if you are a physical media collector, definitely pick up a copy of this. I kind of wish I would have bought that special edition whenever they had announced it, with all, the $40 one I was talking about that had all the merchandise and stuff like that. Just because if that goes to if that helps to fund the people who are making this movie, for the next movie, Anthony Cousins, if that helps kind of feed that a little bit or financially support that, I would have really liked to have been a part of that, just because I like, whenever I see a good kind of independent director come along and make something that I really, really enjoy, like this movie. I always appreciate stuff like that, a good kind of independent director who has a clear vision of what he wants to do and what he's making, and make something, again, that I find very entertaining. So, that's really all I've got as far as Frogman goes. Frogman from 2023, like I said, definitely check it out. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Stay tuned for the next episode. As always, have a great night, and goodbye.